3 feet of ice is not formed in a single day. Israel's continued construction of Jewish settlements on occupied land and its restriction of Palestinian living space have steadily fueled tensions. As the conflict escalated and casualties mounted, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel on October 7th, triggering a full-scale outbreak of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The war has affected not only Gaza and the West Bank, but also heightened clashes with Lebanon, drawing international attention to the region. Hamas, the Islamic resistance movement of Palestine, holds a highly radical ideology. Since its formation during the 1987 uprising, Hamas has been central to Palestinian resistance against Israel. It seeks to destroy Israel through war and establish an Islamic state. In 2006, Hamas won national elections and formed a unity government with Fatah. But in June 2007, internal conflict led to a civil war.
Due to internal conflicts, civil war broke out. Hamas defeated Fatah forces in the Battle of Gaza and became the ruler of the entire Gaza Strip. Although Hamas has long been designated as a terrorist organization by the US, Israel, and the EU, its commitment and persistence in armed resistance against Israel have earned support from many Palestinians. For a long time, Hamas has used force to strike Israel in an attempt to liberate the occupied Palestinian territories. Israel, meanwhile, continues to expand Jewish settlements in the occupied areas, changing the population structure to gradually Judaize them. To suppress Hamas and the growing sense of oppression among Palestinians, Israel has imposed an economic blockade on Gaza since 2007, which has exacerbated the situation. Starting in 2023, in order to accelerate the Judaization of Palestine, Israel launched various military operations in the West Bank, causing ongoing clashes and many Palestinian deaths. Combined with Israel's long-term blockade of Gaza, Palestinian dissatisfaction with Jews reached a breaking point. In response, Hamas strengthened its military forces to prepare for an attack on Israel. The US and Egypt warned Israel of Hamas's movements, but the Israeli intelligence community, including Mossad, did not take them seriously. Israel believed Hamas had no capacity to implement the massive plans outlined in the Jericho Wall document. In July 2023, a female Israeli intelligence officer warned that Hamas appeared to be training for operations described in the Jericho Wall plan. To avoid a full-scale war with Hamas, the Israeli military ignored her warning. Around 6:30 a.m. on October 7, 2023, Hamas launched a military operation called Al-Aqsa Flood against Israel. Hamas first fired about 5,000 rockets at Israeli military facilities and Jewish settlements. Under the cover of rocket fire, over 3,000 Hamas soldiers quietly infiltrated Israel's border barriers. They used aerial drones to precisely strike Israeli observation posts and defense installations along the border. Hamas fighters entered Israel rapidly from multiple fronts using motor vehicles and powered paragliders. While Israel's focus was on land incursions, Hamas frogmen launched an amphibious assault from speedboats at Israel's Zikim beach. Hamas attempted to flank and ambush the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, from behind. However, the IDF discovered and ultimately thwarted the Hamas assault plan. Later, Israel reported that Hamas had killed 19 Israelis on the beach. On land, Hamas quickly captured an IDF military base at Nahal Oz in northern Gaza. They killed 2 Israeli soldiers and captured 6. In the south, the Raim military base also came under Hamas attack. Hamas wiped out all IDF soldiers at Raim during the occupation. Elsewhere, Hamas also captured Sderot's police station. 30 Israelis, including police and civilians, died there. Hamas targeted Israeli kibbutzim, causing extensive damage and capturing as many Israelis as possible to hold them as hostages in Gaza. Hamas also attacked the Supernova Music Festival near the border, causing massive casualties and capturing numerous hostages.
At Israeli military facilities and Jewish settlements. Under the cover of rocket fire, Over 3,000 Hamas soldiers quietly infiltrated Israel's border barriers. They used aerial drones to precisely strike Israeli observation posts and defense installations along the border. Hamas fighters entered Israel rapidly from multiple fronts using motor vehicles and powered paragliders. While Israel's focus was on land incursions, Hamas frogmen launched an amphibious assault from speedboats at Israel's Zekim beach. Hamas attempted to flank and ambush the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, from behind. However, the IDF discovered and ultimately thwarted the Hamas assault plan. Later, Israel reported that Hamas had killed 19 Israelis on the beach. On land, Hamas quickly captured an IDF military base at Nahal Oz in northern Gaza. They killed 2 Israeli soldiers and captured 6. In the south, the Re'im military base also came under Hamas attack. Hamas wiped out all IDF soldiers at Re'im during the occupation. Elsewhere, Hamas also captured Sderot's police station. 30 Israelis, including police and civilians, died there. Hamas targeted Israeli kibbutzim, causing extensive damage and capturing as many Israelis as possible to hold them as hostages in Gaza. Hamas also attacked the Supernova Music Festival near the border, causing massive casualties and capturing numerous hostages.
Despite solid evidence, Israeli authorities denied using white phosphorus. On October 13, 2023, the IDF ordered over 1.1 million Palestinians in northern Gaza to evacuate within a day. Palestinian civilians in southern Gaza faced painful choices. Hamas declared that Palestinians would no longer be forcibly displaced and vowed to resist Israeli invaders and defend their land and homes. Amid international criticism of Israel, the IDF made a controversial accusation. They claimed Hamas used civilians as human shields. Hamas denied this and accused Israel of airstrikes on fleeing civilians heading south. Israel disputed these counterclaims and maintained its position. Israel's desire for retaliation outweighed fears of civilian casualties. They continued intense bombing of Gaza's residential areas. As IDF ground offensives intensified, northern Gaza's situation worsened and Hamas was pushed back. The WHO warned that the Holy City Hospital in northern Gaza was under Israeli attack. This hospital had become a shelter for many Palestinian civilians. Nearby Shifa Hospital was also bombed. With power cut off, Shifa Hospital ceased operations, severely hindering medical efforts. On October 30th, 2023, the IDF sealed off Salah al-Din Road and deployed heavy armor to sever Gaza's north-south connection and attacked all vehicles on the road. Hamas's Al-Qassam Brigades, Islamic Jihad's Al-Quds Brigades, and the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades used anti-tank missiles and heavy artillery to destroy many IDF armored vehicles. IDF losses further fueled Palestinian armed resistance.
Besides fierce battles with Hamas, Israel launched a massive airstrike on Gaza's largest refugee camp, Jabalia, on October 31, killing or injuring about 400 people, mostly women and children. Israel's crimes against women and children drew strong condemnation from the international community. Many countries severed diplomatic ties with Israel. Almost a month after the conflict began, on November 1, the first group of 360 foreigners and 81 severely injured Palestinians were evacuated from Gaza to Egypt. However, on the same day, northern Gaza's Jabalia refugee camp was hit again by Israeli airstrikes, with casualties exceeding 1,000. The UN Human Rights Office declared the attack on the refugee camp the latest atrocity against the Palestinian people. On November 13, the IDF launched operations targeting Gaza's tunnel network. In one raid, the IDF claimed to find a Hamas weapons cache and evidence of Israeli hostages in a basement in Al-Ramal. They also claimed to find a calendar related to the Al-Aqsa flood operation from October 7. The calendar's meaning sparked widespread debate and controversy in the international community. On November 15, the IDF raided Shifa Hospital under the pretext of humanitarian aid. Netanyahu cited hostage rescue as justification for the military's hospital entry.
However, after entering, the IDF did not offer aid. Instead, they claimed to find a Hamas command center and weapons cache beneath the hospital. Yet investigations showed no evidence of such a command center. On November 20th, the IDF attacked another hospital in northern Gaza, the Indonesian hospital. Over 1,000 people, including medical staff and Palestinian civilians, were inside. They had no warning or time to flee. Israel's repeated violations of humanitarian law were condemned globally, but Israel remained unfazed, as ineffective condemnation meant little. After nearly 2 months of brutal fighting and mounting pressure, Hamas and Israel, under Egyptian and Qatari mediation, reached a temporary ceasefire on November 22nd. Both sides exchanged hostages and implemented a humanitarian truce in Gaza. Unfortunately, the truce collapsed on December 1. Israel accused Hamas of violating the agreement. In response, Israel resumed heavy bombing of southern Gaza cities, like Khan Yunis, and ordered civilians to evacuate. Hamas halted hostage negotiations, demanding Israel cease attacks and release Palestinian prisoners. Israel flatly rejected the proposal, plunging Gaza back into endless war. Hamas declared Israel responsible for the renewed conflict. The U.S. called for renewed negotiations to protect civilians, but the international community was concerned because most of Israel's weapons came from the U.S. Fighting and bombing in northern Gaza intensified. From December 1, 2023, the IDF shifted focus to densely populated southern Gaza.
After heavy bombardment, the IDF dropped leaflets on Khan Yunis, declaring it a war zone and forcibly ordering all Palestinians to flee further south to Rafah, leaving them no choice. U.S. President Biden strongly supported Netanyahu's hardline stance on Hamas, though he also expressed dissatisfaction with Israel's bombing of civilians. The international community urged the creation of humanitarian corridors to aid Gaza's 2.3 million residents and reduce the harm caused by the conflict. As of early 2024, the war in Gaza continues. Given the current situation, Hamas's defeat seems only a matter of time. But even if Israel wins the war, it cannot kill all the Palestinians in Gaza. Israel may severely damage Hamas, but it cannot eliminate it. For every Hamas fighter Israel destroys, new ones will arise among oppressed Palestinians. The conflict between Palestinians and Israeli Jews will not end here.